Welcome, everybody, to Glockcast episode 16. And this is the first time since the 5th episode of the Glockcast that we have to deal with an Eagles loss. And I don't think it's going to be as happy days in here as it was last week. It may be a triple threat match in here at any point. Ladies and gentlemen, we will get into it today. Where do the Eagles go from here? Are they still the team to beat in the NFC? We will discuss. And I said triple threat match because we have two guests back in studio. We got Rob McLaughlin.
And I'm thinking maybe, just maybe, Wentz isn't ready for the big show.
And we have Mr. Jordan Overreaction City Bruni.
Yeah, and you know what? It's going to be the hard truth today. It's not going to be all sunshine, rainbows, and, Care Bears, okay? I'm going to give you the hard truth.
All right, well, let's start with the 10-2 Philadelphia Eagles by social media and Jordan and my power rankings. You may think the Eagles are 2-10, and they must have lost to the Cleveland Browns last week. But let's start with the Eagles. It's been a few days. We can breathe now. We're looking ahead to the Rams, but let's look back for a second to the loss. Rob, what do you think?
My confidence is coming back in the team. It's not the end of the world to go to Seattle Sunday night and lose to Russell Wilson, one of the best in the game.
I mean, I agree with you, dude. I don't think that was the end of the world. We didn't look great. But at the same time, they lost to Seattle in Seattle. They didn't lose to Cleveland. They didn't lose to Green Bay with Brett Hundley. They lost to Russell Wilson, like Rob just said, and they lost in Seattle.
This game bothers me because the naysayers that were hating on the Eagles this season have been correct. Now, what the Seahawks have done.
Well, what do you mean by that?
Well, what I'm saying is the strength of schedule. What I'm saying is the strength of schedule has
the strength of schedule.
The strength of schedule.
I'm glad you said that. You're right in my wheelhouse. I'm going to put you in a body bag.
Let me finish. Just stop interrupting me because I'm just going to blow you out of the water the entire show. What the Seahawks did was they took the exact same game plan that the Chiefs did, and they just threw it right in our face. And who's to say that these other teams that are coming up on the road aren't going to do the same thing?
I'm not worried about that. You've said something about strength of schedule. There's 12 teams in the whole NFL that has a winning record. That's above 500. 12 of them. It's not my problem that 3 teams in our division that we play twice a year don't have winning records. Nobody has a winning record. The Saints, they're so good, right? They're awesome. They're great. Beat one team over 500. Same team as us, Carolina. They beat them twice. So I don't want to hear about the strength of schedule. I'm not interested in it.
Well, here's my thing. I look at the bigger picture, okay? So when it comes to playoff time or perhaps championship time, good teams find ways to win. Elite teams find ways to win. I have yet to see Carson Wentz and I'm not taking anything away from Carson Wentz because I still think he's an MVP quarterback. But I have not seen Carson Wentz in a position where he comes back from behind and wins a game.
Well, I haven't yet either, and that's a fair criticism. He does need to step up. He got outplayed by Russell Wilson. Not by much. Still had 348 yards in Seattle, made some tremendous plays, should have won the game. If he didn't fumble, and Alshon Jeffrey didn't have a holding penalty, they would have got in there. That would have been 10-7. The opening drive of the second half, he was 5 for 6 up until the fumble. All right? He fumbled. Made a mistake. First mistake in the red zone all season. Happens. They had opportunities to win that game. They could have won that game easily.
See,
they didn't get blown out in this game.
Here's the thing with you. You're a woulda, coulda, shoulda guy.
I'm not a woulda, coulda, shoulda guy. They're there. They could have won that game. They should have won the game. I guess that does make me sound woulda, coulda, shoulda, but they were there. They didn't get blown out by this team. They didn't get blown out. Rob, talk some sense here. Make some sense of this.
The one thing Bruni did say was that they had the better game plan. They did. Doug Peterson got outclassed, scared to take any shots down the field, mostly just throwing 2-yard screen pass to Torrey Smith all game long. That's why Wentz didn't look good.
They were conservative early. There's no question about it. I don't know why they didn't attack Maxwell. I don't know why they didn't attack Jeremy Lane, which other teams have been doing all year against Seattle, which Atlanta did in Seattle. I don't understand why they didn't do that. That's the one criticism I have of Peterson. But this wasn't – Hudson came after me on Twitter and said this was an F game. This wasn't an F game. An F game is losing at 40-0 or 30-10 and getting blown out. That wasn't an F game. They should, like I said, 10-7 at the end of the half. It should have been instead of 10-3. Then opening drive of the second half, it should have been 14-10. Eagles up 14-10. Doug Peterson didn't hold the cornerback when LeGarrette Blount got to the 4-yard line. He also didn't fumble on the goal line.
Okay, well, this game almost directly mimicked the Chiefs' loss, and let me tell you why. I noticed you were talking about basically their play calling was rather conservative. Basically, the generic run plays at the beginning of the game, I feel like they should have came out right into the game passing the ball. These generic run plays with LeGarrette Blount off the middle just didn't work out.
But they were working. They were working.
They were getting like 3 yards per carry. They were not really working.
They drove the ball all the way up the field.
Something else
drive.
I noticed, I think Carson Wentz might have threw for about 355 yards this game.
348.
He had 45 pass attempts this game. Do you know how much he had against the Chiefs?
Well, that's because they were down in the second half.
Against the
Chiefs,
he had 46.
He was 9 for 14 in the first half.
So this is what I'm saying. Seahawks have mimicked what the Chiefs' game plan was. That's the way you beat the Eagles. You make them throw and you take out the run game.
Sure. Okay. What concerned me most is their inexperience in a big game situation. Rob kind of hit it on it earlier. He needs to see Carson Wentz. And you actually hit it on it too, Jordan. You want to see Carson Wentz win a big game. I think their inexperience was the biggest concern. And they kind of had that deer in the headlights, oh my God, this is the big stage look on Sunday. And that was the most concerning thing for me. Wentz looked nervous early. And I don't know if it was nerves necessarily, but he missed Aguilar on the one. Everybody's talking about it. The throw was horrible. It was over his head. But that's one missed throw of the season the guy had, for God's sake. Let's not kill the guy.
He had a bad throw. Ertz was sleeping for the first quarter or two, and Doug Peterson was way too conservative.
They were way too conservative, too.
Here's my thing. Where was our multi-million-dollar Alshon Jeffrey?
Holding.
Yeah, he's busy.
Yeah, he had a bad game.
Well, here's what I did. When the Eagles lost this game, I was in absolute depression mode until like Tuesday. So what I did was I kind of looked at what the Seahawks stats were in the month of November and December, and I kind of calmed down a little bit because do you guys know what the record is for Russell Wilson in November and December?
No, go ahead.
21-4.
Well, I'm sure it's right around there in every month, though.
So
guy wins.
He's a November-December guy. He even said it in his interview. He said, December is the time where you win games.
Well, I mean, yeah, but winning a game in Seattle with Seattle's back up against the wall as a disrespected 6-point underdog at one point they were, it's tough to go in there. You don't think Pete Carroll had Seattle ready to run through a brick wall to play the Eagles as a disrespected 6-point home underdog? Like, come on.
Well, here's
okay, the Eagles ran into a buzzsaw that were going to kick their ass no matter what. And the Eagles got punched in the mouth, and now they got to regroup, and the game of the year is on Sunday.
Okay, well, how would this game have looked if Richard Sherman and Chancellor played?
It would have been 24-10, Seattle.
You think it still would have been You think it still would have been 24-10?
I mean, I don't. What did they play offense? I must have missed.
I'm just saying that the Eagles might have not even gotten 10 points on the board.
Maybe they got more.
Just speculating.
Yeah, shoulda, coulda, woulda. You came at me earlier. Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
You're right.
The Eagles wasn't their best game. Obviously, we know that.
I go back to these generic run plays that where they're running the ball at the middle of LeGarrette Blount to Wagner, who hasn't missed a solitary tackle
I would agree
all
with you.
game.
At some points,
he hasn't missed a solitary tackle all season, from what I heard.
At some points, they were playing right into Seattle's strength. Their strengths are D-line. Their strengths are linebackers. They should have attacked the corners. All right, but let's regroup. Let's take a deep breath. We got our punches out early. Obviously, Jordan is pissed at the performance. I'm not jumping off of a bridge yet. Rob, kind of in the middle. Let's start looking forward here. Can this team still make a run, in your opinion? Jordan, I'll start with you.
Can the Eagles make a run? As of right now, going into this Rams game, if they can win this Rams game, yes, they can make a run. But if they cannot beat these two teams on the West Coast, and, obviously they go to New York after, and all these games are kind of meaningless after, no, they cannot make a run. They'll be out within the, whichever round, first or second round of the playoffs.
Whoa. Even if we lose to LA, I'm still going to say they can make a run.
Even if they still lose to LA.
All three phases of the game are complete. They just had an off game, which every team does. Even Tom Brady's Patriots will be back. I think we're going to win this Sunday, 425 in LA, and we might win out for the season. Easily. And then we can go on a run in the playoffs.
And then you're sitting there at 14-2, and even if you do lose to LA, you're sitting at 13-3 at worst if you win out. I mean, that's pretty damn good. Granted, you're not feeling as good about it if you're feeling a lot better if you beat LA.
Yeah.
Why are we marking off the Raiders as an automatic win already?
Who's marking it off?
Christmas night.
Well, you're saying they're going to.
I'm not marking it off.
You're saying they're going to win out.
So they'll be the favorite probably by 7 points.
They'll be the favorite. The only thing that I think they could win that game because I know they're home.
On Christmas, 8:30. Lock.
Well, let's just see. Obviously, this game is the biggest game of the year. Let's see how they bounce back. Atlanta Falcons last year, they came into Philly, all right? They got smoked. I bet you none of their fans or their media thought that, hey, this Atlanta team's going to the Super Bowl after that loss. They got stomped. I know you remember that game. So let's just relax. I think it's fine.
You could follow that any given Sunday narrative. I mean, that's true because different things. But what I'm saying is the good teams, the elite teams, seem to, build up in these last 2 months of the season. And the stuff that you're saying occurred, those occurred within the first week 1 through week 6. This is the time where you have to play football. This is the time where you can't make mistakes anymore.
Well, I mean, they had to make a mistake at some point. They had one loss all season. They haven't lost a game since September 17th. You think they were going to run the table?
No. And here's the thing. I figured they were going to lose one of the 2 games on the West Coast. I actually wish they would have beaten Seattle and lost to L.A. I think that would have been a bigger statement.
They're in such good position to still represent the NFC in Minneapolis. They're going to potentially, if they win Sunday, they're going to get home field advantage. Okay, because let's just go through. I wrote down a couple of these schedules. If the Eagles win on Sunday, the only teams that could get home field are the Vikings and Saints, other than the Eagles. The Vikings schedule this week at the Panthers, then versus the Bengals. They stink. At Green Bay for the Aaron Rodgers revenge game. Minnesota was the team that knocked Rodgers out. So keep that in mind. I like Green Bay in that game. And then they got the Bears. So there's 2 losses potentially for the Vikings there. The Eagles could win out, like we just said. The Saints, they got Atlanta tonight at Atlanta, then the Jets, then versus Atlanta at the Bucs. So the Saints are still 1 game behind the Eagles. They lose tonight, forget it, for New Orleans. Home field is gigantic for the Eagles, as you saw on Sunday. And that's one thing to lose in Seattle and play like that in Seattle. It would be a whole other thing to do that in Philly, and I just can't see that happening.
Well, on another thing, I heard that Carson Wentz couldn't audible plays because he couldn't even hear in that stadium. So at least this game coming this weekend in L.A. is going to be, I guarantee you, majority Eagle fans.
All right, I want to keep this going here a little bit. I mentioned home field. Another person on my hit list, Jordan was one of them. This next guest is another one. The Power Rankings guru, use that term loosely, and he is brought to you by Gladiator Custom Mouthguards, and they are the proud sponsor of MouthpieceSportsTalk.com. As the premier custom fit mouthguard in the USA, a Gladiator is engineered with a patented cut designed to intimately fit each individual athlete's mouth, offering maximum comfort, the best fit, and the most protective mouthguard available. Visit www.gladiatorguards.com today to experience the difference. Matt Hudson, what's up, Matt?
Bring it on, baby. What's your beef with the rankings?
I got a beef. But for those who didn't read the Power Rankings, top 5 teams and why, Matt?
Number 1, your New England Patriots.
Finally. Took you, I don't know how many weeks, but too many.
No, it did not take me too many. They're the number 1 team now. They're not going to be the number 1 team for long. For now, they are. 8 wins in a row, defending champions. They got the MVP. They got the greatest coach of all time. They're number 1. Number 2, Pittsburgh Steelers.
Which is total asinine ridiculous.
I agree with that completely.
Absolutely false.
Yeah, he's on fire right now. Let him go.
I'll let you go because I'm coming back at you. So go ahead.
I say it every single week. I'll say it again. How do you ever stop Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown?
Ask the Indianapolis Colts for starters. Go ahead.
Cincinnati Bengals, who were trying to do it for playoff hopes.
They didn't even tackle Le'Veon Bell. They let him go right up the sidelines. If the Seahawks didn't tackle the Eagles, I bet you the Eagles would have won. I bet you the Eagles would have won if nobody tackled them into the end zone.
Every time they tried to tackle them, they would get hurt.
No, they literally didn't tackle Le'Veon Bell. They didn't push him out. He walked into the end zone. They didn't even watch the game. Go ahead.
Yeah, but that's because they thought he was out, though.
Go ahead. Move on.
They probably couldn't even see him.
Who's number 3 before I freak? Who's number 3?
Number 3, Skull, Minnesota Vikings.
Yup.
Wins in a row.
We're dead even right now. I have every team you have.
Here's why. Because good teams go on the road and win. They were playing red-hot Atlanta. Probably everyone on this podcast, including myself, thought Atlanta wins the game. Who did it? Case Keenum. He did what Carson Wentz couldn't, and he jumps Carson Wentz in the Eagles.
You know what else he can't do that Carson Wentz does? He's not good. So go ahead. Move on.
Number 4, the Eagles.
which is entirely
Yup.
too low.
I got
that
you.
They're at 4. I didn't write the Eagles off. I'm not writing the Eagles off. They're still tied for the best record, but great teams go on the road and win. It would have been one thing if we lost to Seattle. That was embarrassing. I don't know if you weren't watching the same game as me. We did fumble. We did hold on the goal line. We didn't challenge the play. It was an embarrassing loss.
What were the Steelers doing at halftime? You think they were embarrassed down 17-3 against stinking Cincinnati? They were losing 17-3 at half.
Well, when we were losing
And they
17-3,
won
what do we
the
do?
game. That's what good teams do.
Yeah,
They were losing 17
no, good
to
teams.
3.5, and they won.
The
because
Eagles.
good
If the
teams
Eagles played the
back
Bengals,
from a
no.
big deficit.
If the Eagles played the Bengals, they would tattoo
Yes,
the Bengals.
yes, but that was a divisional. Pittsburgh
Division got my ass.
Pittsburgh and Cincinnati is a divisional game.
Okay.
It's a whole different ball game.
You guys love this division game crap. If a team is playing a division team that absolutely sucks and wins, is that more impressive than losing to a team that's good?
Do you know the fire that goes into a Pittsburgh-Cincinnati
Yeah,
game?
all right.
It's
Yeah, I see
blood.
it.
It's targets. It's
and it's
knocking
shitty
your
football.
head off.
The Bengals suck. Okay, go ahead, Matt. Who's number 5? Because then we're gonna go back into this Pittsburgh thing because I got some notes for you.
Number 5 is the Rams. They're
Okay.
young. They're
The best-
talented. They got an awesome quarterback, and they got a really good coach.
Okay,
The
no
defense
arguments
is
from
just
there.
as scary as
Let's
their
go
offense.
back to number 2, though. Okay, the Steelers. All right, they lost to the Chicago Bears. The Chicago freaking Bears, 23-17. Okay, they lost to the Jaguars, 30-9 at home. I would love to see you two imbeciles discuss the Eagles after they lose 30-9 at home. I would like to see that. Okay,
I'll tell you
30-9,
what, after
and you
playing
got them ranked second over the Eagles.
After playing Seattle's depleted defense, who couldn't stop a nosebleed, and we could only score 10 points,
They lost
I'm glad we don't have
30-9
play
to Jacksonville at home.
We don't have to play
Who's taking anything away from Jacksonville? Isn't Jacksonville a postseason team right now? They're a
They are
postseason
wild
team. Am I
card
correct?
Right now.
Yeah, they're a playoff team. Matt doesn't like them. Where do you have Jacksonville in the rankings?
You'll have to read them.
Yeah, they're not on the top 12, and they beat your boys, the number 2 ranked team, 30-9. They barely beat the Colts 20-17. They barely beat the Colts. It took them game-winning field goals to beat the following: the Colts, the Packers, and the Bengals. The Eagles were beating those caliber of teams by 100 points.
How much did we beat the Giants by? A miracle 61.
In week 3.
We beat the
This
Giants
was last
by-
week. They beat the Bengals by a
We
field
beat
goal.
the Giants by a 62-yard field goal
Okay.
to win the game.
This was literally
Beat the
this was the last 2 weeks that took a game-winning field goal to beat the Packers with Brett Hundley and the Bengals who suck. And they're number 2 in my power rankings.
The Giants were 2-10, and we needed a miracle field goal. The Redskins, the first game of the season, was a forward pass.
Giants were a different team.
I'm
in
going.
week
I'm
3.
going back to what I said before. Good elite teams find ways to win. They were down 17-3.
They didn't find a way to win against the Bears.
The Pittsburgh Steelers were down 17-3 and they came back. When we had our backs against the wall, we didn't fulfill it.
All right.
That's the end of the story.
Arguing aside, I got that out of my system. I've been waiting to do that since I read the power rankings. But, Matt, you do a great job, so I'm not here to bust your balls. Power rankings are arbitrary. They are what they are. You do a great job. But you guys are acting like the Eagles have 2 losses. They lost to Kansas City, who at the time was very good, and they lost to Seattle at Seattle. They didn't lose to the Bears, for God's sake, at home. They're fine. And, Matt, I want to hear what you have to say about the game. Upcoming game.
They're also still at number 4, though. I need you to realize that. There's 32 teams in the league. The Eagles are still at number 4. They're still tied for the best record
and they're
in the
still
NFL.
better than the Steelers and the
There's
Vikings,
3
in my
best
opinion.
teams right now.
They're still
Not
better
writing
than
them off by any means.
All right. Well, Rob, is it still the Patriots and the Eagles and everybody else, or now?
Nah, I messed that up. Russell Wilson plays for the Seattle Seahawks. I forgot about him and his ability to scramble. Jordan had it last week.
So where would you have the Seahawks?
I think I got to put them up there as 3.
Wow.
I couldn't do that yet.
They would smoke Big Ben. He throws 5 picks a game.
Matt?
I think
3.
after this weekend, you'll be able to throw the Seahawks in there if they win.
They got 4 losses.
Who cares? It's who you would take right now on a neutral field. That's how you get the power rankings. I don't know what
Okay,
formula
so
you got over there in
who are the 2
Arizona.
You're taking. Who are the other 2 teams you're taking?
I'm taking the Patriots over anyone, then I'm taking the Eagles over anyone else, and then I'm taking the Seahawks over anyone else. It's not rocket science.
That's horrible.
Okay.
That's literally horrible.
Who are you?
Taking the Seahawks over the Rams, over the Saints, over the Falcons.
I'm taking
Yes,
the
over
Seahawks.
Jared Goff, dude.
I'm taking the Seahawks over. I'm putting my hand up. I'm taking the Seahawks over the Rams, too. I think the Eagles bounce back this week. The Rams are so good that they scored 10 points against Seattle just like the Eagles. At home. And they scored 7 against the Vikings. The Eagles have scored under 20
I'm not
for the first time
I'm
all
not
season.
glorifying the Rams, so I don't know what you're looking at me for when you're saying that.
Rudy's about to knock Ryan out.
I've never said anything good about the Rams yet.
All right. Matt, I got a question for you. Who wins the AFC West? Because this is chaotic in the AFC. I got ripped last week for talking no AFC. I just want to ask you who wins the AFC West.
Can we talk a little bit of schedules first?
He don't know who's in the AFC West.
Yo, the Chargers are going to win the AFC West. You heard it here first.
I don't know, dude. I'm not counting out the Raiders yet.
What's that?
I'm not counting out the Oakland Raiders yet.
All right, well, you were heavy on the two. You were saying how good the AFC West was on Twitter, so I just thought you had an opinion on it.
The AFC West is good. The Chiefs beat the two of the top 5 teams in the league. The Chargers are playing out of their mind. The AFC West is good.
That's
I don't
why
know what
I
they're
gave you for it. All right. I need your opinion. Now, how do you feel about Sunday's game?
I'm a little nervous.
You're a little nervous.
I'm excited, but I'm nervous. That performance last week was disgusting.
Dude, that's a hot take. You got anything else for us?
I don't know if it was disgusting, dude. I mean,
It was disgusting.
disgusting is losing to the Chicago Bears.
Disgusting. Was horrible. Everything was horrible, and I'm nervous.
I'm surprised no one
They're gonna
mentioned.
bounce back, but I'm nervous.
I'm surprised no one's mentioned how poorly those balls that Carson Wentz threw on Sunday, how they looked. He overthrew like 5 guys.
Twice. Go ahead.
Dude, he was nervous. He had to go home and suck on his thumb. I hate to say it. I'm Wentz's biggest fan. He was nervous.
Okay.
He needed a pacifier.
All right. I need your opinion, and then I got to get rid of you. So go ahead. I need your prediction score. Go ahead.
I think we'll bounce back. 24-21 Eagles. Game-winning field goal.
All right. It'll take the Eagles a game-winning field goal to get back up in Matt's good graces and hopefully back to the number 1 spot in the power rankings. Matt, we'll check you out next week. Thanks for being on the show.
Take it easy.
All right. Matty Hudson, I burned him on the AFC West question, didn't I? He had no clue. He wasn't ready for that one. It's right on the sheet. All right. So let's just finish up. I want to go over a couple games with just you guys here. Now we got tonight, Saints in Atlanta. Saints are 1.5-point favorite. I want to hear your predictions on it.
I think I'm going Matty Ice. Bring it back. He has the Saints number, I feel. I don't have any stats to prove it, but I just feel like he wins these big games.
I was kind of feeling him last week, and you see what happened. I should have just stuck to my guns. I'm gonna go with the Saints tonight. I hate to do it. I mean, this is Atlanta's season on the line, though. The Saints are a favorite. I would have thought Atlanta would be at least maybe a 2-point favorite. Looking at the other lines, I think the Saints get it done. Jordan,
I think that Kamara and Ingram duo. I don't think they're going to be stopped. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win tonight. It's going to be 26-17.
And then another very important game for Eagles fans. Minnesota travels to Carolina. Minnesota is a 2.5-point favorite.
I like the Panthers in this. They might get smacked in the mouth, but I feel like Cam Newton's going to step up. That defense will play good. I feel like they can win it.
I feel like eventually Vikings are going to hit their wall, and I think Cam Newton, even though I hate Cam Newton more than anything, and it hurts me to say this, I think Cam Newton can pull something out this Sunday.
Yeah, I kind of like the Panthers, too. I've been saying it every week.
We're homers.
Yeah, of course we won the fuck. No, I mean, come on. The Vikings have to lose eventually, right? I mean, come on.
Case Keenum can't go on the field.
And I do have to go. I got ripped also. I got ripped for quite a few things this past week. The Vikings are for real, though. Their defense is serious. Although I still feel like something's going to go.
I still don't feel the Vikings are for real. Case Keenum has been in the league for. Do you think Case Keenum is going to roll through the postseason? He's been in the league for 5 years.
If they're sitting at cozy home and then their defense takes over and they just run the ball, maybe. That's the only way it happens if they get home.
Cozy home, like is Minnesota all of a sudden some like crazy place to go into that and win games? Yeah. They couldn't even. Do you know? A couple years ago when the Eagles played the Vikings in the playoffs, they couldn't even sell out their stadium during postseason. They had players begging the fans in commercials to come to the game. Okay,
All right.
little small sports market up there.
Hopefully the Eagles go there this year because that means they're in the Super Bowl. All right, one last one before we move on to the Rams and Eagles, the most important matchup of the week. Seattle goes to Jacksonville. And do you guys know this line, or
I want the line.
do you know it off the top of your head?
No.
And if you guys out there don't know it off the top of your head, Jaguars are favored by 2.5 points at home. Now, Seattle's traveling to Jacksonville, so
After a late Sunday night game.
West Coast, East Coast, but
I'm going to go Seattle. I can't talk all the shit in the world and then say freaking Blake Bortles is going to win a game.
over Russell Wilson. If Wentz couldn't do it, can Bortles do it?
That'd be a real slap in the face, wouldn't it? I think the Seahawks win that game.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks win that game, too. Talk about a team that's not ready. If the Eagles weren't ready, I can't see Jacksonville being ready. Granted, it is in Jacksonville, but what type of home field advantage is that in Jacksonville?
They got a pool in their stadium.
And this right here is why Vegas has big-ass buildings.
Yeah, everybody's on the Panthers and Seahawks, and then Minnesota and Jacksonville. I mean, everybody was probably on it. Matt was right. Everybody was probably on Atlanta last week. I know I would have been. I picked Atlanta in the locks.
Atlanta is one of the most inconsistent teams in the league. They're so flashy one week, and then the next week they just what they score like 9 points the other week.
Yeah, 9 points last week against the Vikings. And speaking of points, though, the Vikings, I must have missed all the points the Vikings were scoring last week. He scored 14 points on Atlanta. I mean,
Their offense isn't what
Yeah,
intimidates. It's a smash mouth football their defense plays. They do.
the Saints are the scariest team. That's me. What do you guys say?
Are we talking about in the NFC? Saints.
Seahawks.
Seahawks. Okay, yeah. Well, if you're playing them in Seattle,
I don't know. I just watched Russell Wilson run away from the pressure all night long and make miracles happen. That did happen.
True. All right, but let's take a break here. We'll transition into fantasy football. Calm down for a second. And we had to bring in the fantasy guru of MouthpieceSportsTalk.com, Mr. Shane Dunphy, the Coxman. He is going to help you win your fantasy matchup this week. Shane, what up, man?
What's going on, man? Big week for fantasy playoffs. I'm excited, man.
This is it. I can't believe it's fantasy playoff season already. But, Shane, we have a ton of questions for you today. We need your help. Start with your studs for this week and maybe some guys that are under the radar, sleepers that we need to know about.
Yeah, so I got one stud and then one sleeper, and then you can check the article out that you'll be pushing out with all the rest of them on there. But my stud this week is Larry Fitz. The guy, he's unstoppable at home. They're playing at home. He's averaging 8 catches and 90 yards at home. So I'm going to roll with Larry Fitz this week. One of my sleepers is another old guy in the league, Jason Witten. Let's just call a spade a spade. The Giants are an absolute dumpster fire.
Yeah,
and
they're
I
so
think,
bad.
Witten's going to be a beneficiary of one of the worst teams against tight ends.
Well, I like that. And, speaking of tight ends, let's start there. Since you brought up Witten, is there any other streaming options? Because Witten may be available. So if you see Witten and you have Gronk, you might want to go get Witten. Is there any other streaming guys?
Yeah, it's so tough because you're heading into playoffs. You're trying to come in with all this momentum, and then Gronk spikes his helmet into the back of somebody else. He's suspended for week 1, which, to be honest, is probably going to screw a lot of people.
I'm actually playing against a Gronk owner, so I'm not that pissed. But go ahead.
Well, I got a couple guys that might be out there. Steven Anderson on Houston had a pretty good week last week. Fedorowicz is out with a concussion, and Savage was just feeding Anderson last week. He found the end zone. I mean, that's a deeper league where you're looking for that guy. Some other guys that might be out there just because of the matchup against Houston, they're horrible against tight ends. George Kittle is out there, and, I mean, last week it looked like him and Garoppolo had a little bit of connection. And Dwayne Allen, it's going to be a little bit of a flyer because you got Bennett on the IR, Gronk's out. Dwayne Allen could be one of those, like, Belichick and Brady, just make him look like a superstar for the week, but it's risky.
Yeah, what a shitty way to roll into the playoffs. What a shame. But let's start with some of these questions here, and I'll start with the tight end question. Who's your favorite tight end? Austin Seferian-Jenkins or Ricky Seals-Jones? Who would you go with out of those two if you had them both?
Yeah, so I like both their names. Ricky Seals-Jones is a badass name. Austin Seferian-Jenkins with the nickname ASJ. pretty awesome. But I told everyone to fade Ricky Seals-Jones last week, who had a couple good weeks stringing along. He had 2 catches last week. This week has a pretty good matchup against Tennessee, who's 21st against tight ends. But I think ASJ is who I would lean towards. He plays Denver, who ranks 30th against the tight ends, and he can't put up stinkers consistently. I think him and McCown probably get on the same page again. And
Yeah, Denver's been brutal against.
See him in the end zone.
They've been brutal against tight ends, but ASJ's been brutal as a not that proud owner of ASJ. He's been terrible, but that's what you're looking at without Gronk. So it's not much. A couple other questions, some big ones. Alfred Morris or Rex Burkhead? Who would you go with there? You have to pick one.
Yeah, I actually thought about this for a while because I have both of them in one of my leagues, and I'm leaning more towards Alfred Morris after last week's performance. Look, Rex Burkhead, 4 TDs last 2 games. It's impressive. One of them being receiving. He's seen a lot of volume, but it's all red zone work. And to be honest, they got James White and Deion Lewis. It's too much of a risk of me during the playoffs because you never know who Belichick and Brady are going to feed. I mean, you can put anyone in that system. It's a product of the system. Rex Burkhead, while he is producing right now, I could see him putting up a clunker this week and nothing happen at all. But at the same time, could have a big week. But Alfred Morris has seen so much volume. 27 carries last week. I mean, it's pretty obvious Rod Smith isn't the guy there. It's Freddie Morris. He got 127 yards and a TD. And I just like his matchup against the Giants. Like I said, they're a dumpster fire right now. I got to go Morris on that one.
All right, sounds good. Alfred Morris. So if you have the Alfred Morris, Rex Burkhead, go with Morris. I like Morris myself this week. How about this one? Nelson Aguilar, Josh Gordon, or Joe Mixon. You got to play one for flex, and that is if Joe Mixon's playing, obviously. Just consider Joe Mixon playing. Obviously, don't start him if he's not playing. But go ahead, answer that one.
Yeah, do not start if he is not playing. That would be pretty wise advice from Mouthpiece Sports. Aguilar, he had a really good game against Seattle, depleted secondary. I mean, it was his best game of the season statistically. But Josh Gordon, I did not want any parts of him last week, and the dude saw 11 targets. He only had 4 catches, but I think it was for 80 yards or something along those lines. If he's seeing that volume, and this week he plays, let's be honest, it's a shitty Green Bay defense. I mean, they've gotten burned by Antonio Brown. Tampa Bay kind of threw on him last week. I could see, and this is crazy, but I could see Josh Gordon going nuts this week against Green Bay, and I could also see Cleveland getting their first win of the season.
Wow, how about that?
I hope that happens because I do not want to see Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs, and we've been talking about it all along.
Yeah, so go Josh Gordon in that scenario.
I'm Gordon over Aguilar.
All right, I got another one, a quarterback question for you. Kirk Cousins or Jimmy Garoppolo?
Well, Kirk is 5th ranked amongst QBs in fantasy production, to be honest. Garoppolo, yeah, he had a decent week last week, led San Fran to a game-winning field goal drive. But as much as I like Garoppolo, and I think he'll be solid, but he has the better matchup. But I want Captain Kirk at the helm if it's a playoff scenario for me, just because I know Cousins, not to say he's been there, done that, but Garoppolo's still kind of unproven to me.
Yeah, you kind of got to go with, you kick yourself.
You got to lean towards Cousins.
You kick yourself if you didn't start.
Go against the Chargers. I mean, I got to give the edge to Cousins there.
All right, I'll get you out of here with your Eagles score and prediction. They're coming off a loss for the first time in a long time. Do you see them bouncing back?
Yeah, I think they have to. And I also think we almost needed that in a sense where Doug called a bad game. Stuff didn't go our way like it's been going. It's kind of like a reality check. I think it's going to be a really close game, and I like the Birds, man. I think if we play our game like we've been playing, except last week, we're in the game. Couple calls, couple missed plays, missed opportunities, and we win. But I think it's going to be. I'm going to go with 24-21 Birds.
All right, a close one. All right, Shane, we'll get you out of here. And we'll be sure to look for your fantasy article, studs, sleepers. You got to check it out if you want to win your matchup. Shane, thanks for being on the show.
You got it.
All right, man. All right, but let's get back into the Philadelphia Eagles. And we got the biggest game of the season coming up Sunday, 4:25 from Los Angeles, California at the Coliseum. This is a huge game, boys. This is the biggest game of the season. The Eagles got punched in the mouth it's time to punch back. We will find out everything we need to know about the Philadelphia Eagles this Sunday. Now, how are we feeling after we just went to blows for about 30 minutes there? Let's calm down and talk about this game rationally.
Look, I think the Eagles come out with this one. It's going to be what my prediction is going to be. I think it's going to be 24-20. I think Alshon is going to start playing like the $1 million paid player he is, the multi-million-dollar player that he is, and I think he makes up for what he did last week. And we get more aggressive play calling going. Doug Peterson's not going to do this mediocre stuff where we come out flat in the first half and then go in for a halftime speech and then come out in the second half and then start putting points on the board. We need to be on all even fours the entire game.
I agree. And before you get into your prediction, Rob, I just want to run some numbers here. The Eagles are second in the league in rushing, all right, averaging 143.3 yards a game. The Rams are 27th in the league, giving up 122.8 yards per game. I think that's a huge advantage for the Eagles if there is an advantage of this game. The Rams have scored 10 points against Seattle, 7 points against Minnesota in their 2 toughest games. Yeah, they beat the Saints 26-20, but this Eagles defense is serious, and I don't think Jared Goff is going to be ready for it. Now, I'm more worried about Sean McVay, and I'm more worried about Todd Gurley, the receiver, than I am. Our linebackers were busted in coverage last week. They can't cover anybody. So I'm really worried about Todd Gurley, but we'll see. My report will be out Sunday morning, 9 a.m.
I tried to get worried. You're saying you're worried. It's going to be close. This team stinks. They have Jared Goff. I don't care who the coach is. It's Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, Robert Woods. They stink. They scored 10 points. The only teams they blow out are the Colts, Giants, and Niners. Good job putting up all the stats in the world against the worst 3 teams in the league. The Eagles are going to eat them alive, 31-14.
Wow.
They are.
I like it.
The disrespect.
Man, oh, man.
They stink.
Now, I did a Q&A with Vincent Bonsignor of the LA Daily News. You guys have to stay tuned for that on Friday morning. He does not agree with Rob's prediction or Jordan's prediction. Surprise, surprise. But
they don't know anything. They know about surfing waves out there. They don't know about football.
True.
The only thing is, though, the NFL is kind of rigging it up for LA because they need to justify all them new stadiums and stuff, so the fix could be in.
The fix might have been in this past Sunday night, but I don't know how I'm feeling about this game yet. I do think the Eagles will bounce back, though. I'll tell you that much. My full report will be out Sunday, like I said, but I don't know. Hopefully.
Okay, Eric, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you panic next week if we lose this weekend?
Oh, if we lose this weekend, it's over. The fun's over.
All right.
Then we're looking at a first-round exit, potentially.
And then you get critical like I am.
Oh, then I get critical. Yeah. Like last week, we were talking about who's your favorite player to watch? Who's your this?
Kenyon Barner.
I can envision you texting me on Sunday if they're losing and being like, Jordan, you were right.
Oh, well.
And you've done
Not gonna happen.
You've done it with me a lot of times. Like the Donnell Pumphrey signing. Right. Absolute disaster.
If the Eagles lose this Sunday, then the fun's over. And you heard we amped it up today. We went to blows. It will be very negative next week, shall the Eagles lose Sunday. But I just don't think it's going to happen yet. Boys, thank you for joining me. It got ugly. It got heated. Thank you to Matt Hudson. Thank you, Shane Dunphy. Last week, Kenyon Barner, unbelievable interview. And stay tuned for our Q&A with LA Daily News Rams beat writer Vincent Bonsignor. Game preview Sunday, 9 a.m. We got fantasy coming at you today. We got the Wentz report on Monday. We'll have a Sixers-Lakers preview today from Joe Pop as well. MouthpieceSportsTalk.com. Join the revolution. Glockcast, I will talk to you next week.